Good evening. For those of you who have just joined us after closed session, welcome to this hybrid regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. I am Lisa Pelosi, Board President, and I would like to introduce my fellow trustees, Jean Marie Wolf, Trustee Jeannie Kerr, Trustee Sean Mora, and Vice President Laura Simon. I would also like to introduce our district staff, Assistant Superintendent Mr. Christopher Heller, Chief Business Official Dr. Vang, Director of Educational Services Mrs. Araceli Romo Flores, Executive Assistant to the Superintendent and Governing Board Ms. Erica Madrigal, and our Director of Technology Mr. Derek Machado. Additional site administrators are also joining us in the audience this evening. St. Helena High School Principal, Mr. Benjamin Cinto, RLS Middle School Principal, Mr. Andrew Ryan, St. Helena Elementary School Principal, Dr. Carmen Emery, and St. Helena Primary School Principal, Mrs. Rebecca Rocha. We are delighted that you are viewing in person, on Zoom, on television channel 27, or our YouTube channel. A copy of this board meeting video will also be available at our website at www.sthelinaunified.org. In connection with items 4A and 4B, the board received information and had a discussion. In regards to item 4C, the board will need to return to closed session after our open session tonight to continue discussion on that item. Okay, item 5, that was that. Oh, sorry, now is flag salute. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, item 6A is public comments on our board meetings. It does not appear that we received any written comments. Is there anyone present who wishes to publicly comment on items not on tonight's agenda? And if so, please come to the podium. Anything on, no? Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so now we're gonna jump right in here with our oath of office for our new student board representative, Sunny Calder. So we are very excited to have you here tonight, and we'll make it official now, and then we'll hit the ground running. So we're going to come up here in front because we're going to have photo opportunities and all those kind of great things. So. Well, I think it's going to be up here. You can take the paper, send whatever's Ms. Magical you want us right in the center, correct? Okay.
All of us? Or just them? Okay.
Okay, so yes, it will be there, and then I'm gonna just have you repeat after me. I'll do it in small chunks as it goes there, okay? Okay. You say,
I
do solemnly swear that I will support and defend
do solemnly swear that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California
the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations, welcome aboard. We need to have a photo for Mr. Singer. Great. Good. All right, thank you. All right, we're so happy to have you. Okay, and Sunny is I'm a senior, excuse me, in her last, so she'll be with us this whole year, and we'll get to see her ride out her time here at St. Helena High School, so it'll be great. Thank you. Okay, so with that, we're going to move on to item 7B, which is the introduction of the new Director of Community Liaison and Community Engagement. Mr. Heller, please.
Great, thank you. Good evening. I'd like to take an opportunity to introduce to the trustees in our community Selene Robledo. Selene was born and raised in St. Helena. Wait, Selene.
Oh.
Just wait right there. Let me talk about you first, then you can go shake hands. She attended all of our local schools, including St. Helena High School, where she graduated in 2014. She also graduated from Sonoma State with a bachelor's degree in sociology and is currently in her second year of pursuing a master's in social work, along with a pupil personnel services credential. Her long-term goal is to become a social worker, which will allow her to support not only families and parents, but also students on a deeper level. She has worked as a counselor, supporting students dealing with substance abuse. Her experience in both mental health services and youth counseling will serve the district well in creating a supportive, inclusive environment for everyone. She is excited to build stronger connections between our schools, students, families, and the broader community in her new position. She wants to ensure that every family feels informed, supported, and heard, and she's looking forward to working closely with the board and our community to make a lasting impact to the lives of our students and families. Selene, would you like to say any words?
This is my 4th week. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
It's been very surreal talking to families and students in these past 4 weeks. Seeing teachers that have, were my teachers and getting everyone's feedback of how proud they are of me. It has been a very amazing experience these 4 weeks, and I look forward to working with the school district and everyone here and continuing to support our families and our students. So thank you all very much.
Great, Selene. If you come around,
Absolutely.
shake hands.
Thank you. Welcome aboard. Oh, my knees. Did you just hear that? Ooh. Okay. Yeah, exactly. And Selene, is your office in this building, correct? Yes. Right. Oh, just so people know where to find you if they need to. So that's great. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Okay, next item is the introduction of the California School Employees Association, number 287, the Executive Board. Mr. Heller, are you going to introduce that
I will.
first, or-
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
great.
I'd like to introduce our Chapter 287 Executive Board as elected by their members for the 24-25 school year. And they've each provided a quote about what motivates or what they like about St. Helena, or what they like about their position. And so our first is our chapter president, Rita Ortega Vidal. Rita, you can stand up. We maybe you guys can all say something at the end. You want to just kind of go stand by the podium. Next up is our chapter vice president, who works here in the district office and is in support of educational services, Josefina Alvera Garcia. Our chapter secretary is Nikki Myers, who's the office team leader at the primary school. And last is our chapter treasurer, David Samuels, who is our campus supervisor at RLS and is unavailable to be here this evening. So we want to welcome them and thank them for their work and supporting their membership, and working tirelessly, as I've said before, as the backbone of our district, the behind the scenes work that everyone appreciates to make our schools operate and run each and every day. So if anybody would like to make a comment, we'd welcome that.
I'll just say on behalf of David Samuels, he really wanted to be here, but he's coaching for RLS.
Oh.
So we just celebrate him in that regard.
Good. You guys want to come around? Shake hands.
Okay. You want to go first?
Yeah.
Con gusto, con gusto. Thank you. Con gusto. Thank you, Nick. Okay.
Okay, moving on. Item 8 is the consent agenda. Excuse me one second while I get my place here. The consent agenda contains routine items judged as appropriate to be acted upon in one motion. If a board member requests that an item be removed from the consent agenda, the item will be considered under discussion and action items. Is there anyone present who wishes to comment on this agenda item? Good, Karika, we're all good. There were no written comments submitted by the members of the public. Trustees, any questions or requests to remove an item from the agenda?
I would like to pull, I feel like I'm saying, I'd like to buy a vowel. Where am I? We're 8.
Yes.
8J. The
8J.
contracts under 25K, please.
Okay, all right, thank you. We will pull 8J. Is there a motion, anything else, trustees, to pull? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of 8J as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Okay. Ms. Madrigal will conduct a roll call vote.
Trustee Wolf?
Aye.
Trustee Kerr?
Aye.
Trustee Mora?
Aye.
Trustee Simon?
Aye.
President Pelosi?
Aye, motion carries. Okay, so item 8J is, it's review and consider approval of contracts under $25,000. Trustee Mora, is there a particular one, several?
Not any one particular, so I actually have more of an ask. It's not about any one specific contract.
Okay,
One of the things that, I don't remember which board meeting it came up in, is understanding all the different tools that we are using to assess our students through the year, not end of year testing. And I don't know which on this list. I think some of them, the software, sorry, I'm talking about software on this list. Some of them appear to be core curriculum, such as Go Math. Some of them appear to be supplemental to core curriculum. I don't know which are which completely. Like NWA Go Math, I think, is core. Then I see MAP in here. I see Renaissance, multiple measures, Vista, Lexia, Read 180. I guess, so my ask is, this is just 1 month. I assume there are probably others that come up at different times. And I guess my ask would be if we can have some sort of a tally of everything that we have, who's using it, how often, is it moving the mark or moving the needle towards achievement? I just want to make sure that we are spending every dollar wisely in this area. And I don't want to assume that that analysis happens on a periodic basis. That was it.
thank you. And I think we can follow up. I can follow. Dr. Vang, I believe that you are already working on an inventory audit, if we will call it that, of what is currently being utilized in the district, how long has been utilized, by how many, et cetera. I do believe that's been a conversation that we may have had, whether it was at the dais or in our one-on-one meetings. Am I correct about that?
Yes, President Pelosi, you are correct. Araceli and I will continue to do that work this year. We will be working closely with our principals to come back and provide you with the request information.
Okay, we appreciate that. Thank you. Trustee, yeah, go ahead.
Perhaps, based on what you were saying, perhaps a column that we could add to that is how it's used, meaning how many minutes per day, what it supports, why it's necessary. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So with that, we're going to revisit that. Is there a motion to approve item 8J on the consent agenda as presented?
I'll make the motion to present or to approve 8J.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Ms. Madrigal will conduct a roll call vote.
Trustee Wolf?
Aye.
Trustee Kerr?
Aye.
Trustee Mora?
Aye.
Trustee Simon?
Aye.
President Pelosi?
Aye, motion carried. Okay, thank you. Okay, now we're under item 9 is communications, and our first one is board members report, which is Trustee Wolf this evening.
Okay, yay, that's me. Well, I have the pleasure of monitoring the St. Helena Primary School, and it truly is a pleasure, I will say. Everyone on that campus is so kind and helpful. A big thank you, especially to Nikki. I'd say, "Oh, I need this information. You know, give her a couple days." It's like back in my mailbox in 5 minutes. So I just everybody's so wonderful on that campus. As everyone knows, we were given our special PLC recognition. I tried to get the flag to cooperate, didn't so much, but it's a big honor. And as you can read that last little note that, you know, there's only about 600 schools in the U.S. and Canada, so that's huge. And all the work of our principal, as well as Mr. Heller's support, it makes you very proud of what a great job they're doing over there. And the new year began. There's our helpful Nikki. I wanted to showcase some fun people. First day of school was really cute. I was there at TK, and I only saw a couple tears, there's some little twins in TK. They weren't too sure about it, but most everybody ran to their teacher, ran to the playground. It was wonderful chaos that morning. It was a lot of fun. And then last Thursday was the back to school night. Parents got to meet their teachers. They got to hear it from our principal, as well as sign up for volunteer activities and just see everything on the campus maybe they haven't seen. So that was lots of fun. And just some statistics here, facts and figures. You can see how many students we have. We actually have 35 of our students are DOC students, meaning they are district of choice. So they are not residents of our community, but have applied and been accepted to our schools. So just some numbers there for you. The breakdown: kindergarten, first grade, and second grade. And there we go, teachers, and this just show you what great staff and support we have. Put a couple of familiar faces there. I know Dave is beloved at the campus, as well as our librarian, our library specialist, always on hand to, with a smile to greet the kids. So that's Lisa, as you all know. So it just gives you a great idea of how many people work to make education special for our little people. And I think it's pretty amazing, all the support that they have. And let's see, some new things this year, the Raising a Reader program. It's a special packet children can take home, TK and kindergarten, share with their parents or a caregiver, just to really enrich reading and instill a love for reading in our little kids. And they can be in Spanish or in English, and subjects they like, and just kind of inspires children to read at home as well. There's a new phonics curriculum. We have an instructional coach helping to teach our teachers to teach math. Did that come out right? Because I know math is a a big subject here, and start them off at the early age, and it's just going to grow and build from there. Teacher on assignment, and we have 2 TK classes now. So who says declining enrollment? Look at the futures happening here. And kind of fun. I said that not only is there academic, there's a lot of fun things going on. The first Friday of the month, they're having a jog, kind of in a cooperation with Blue Zone. So the kids run the little field before class, and I think in the future, Rebecca said the Blue Zones will be bringing some little drinks or snacks, kind of rethink your drink. I think that's what she said, for the kids to kind of learn good things and good healthy things for your body. So it was fun to watch them running, and they had some great music playing. It's just so fun to be on the campus. I want to go back to school. And I think lastly, I just said, this is the future of our schools. We're starting them early, giving them a great foundation. And I mean, our TK kids are a class of 2038, and it's going to be fun to watch them grow. And I'm just really proud of that school. So, and thank you to everyone at the school that helped me put this together, and all the enthusiasm. So,
Great. Thank you so much. Trustees, any questions?
No, great information. Thank you so much.
I know, absolutely.
Thank you for starting off our meeting, too.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, item 9B is the board president's report. I don't have too much to report in the since last month. I think when we were last here, the window for the 2 open board seats was closing the next day. August 9th was the closing day for submitting candidacy papers. And the only 2 people that submitted candidacy papers were Trustee Kurt and myself. So at that point, it looks like we will continue on with our roles come November. So that is one item. Second item is update on the superintendent search. We met again this week in closed session on Tuesday and continued with our deliberations and hope to have some answers for everybody here very soon. So we will continue to keep you updated. There is something on the website as well that I do believe it's on the website already, correct, Ms. Madrigal? Yes. And I think that's what I have for tonight, unless anybody needs to jog my memory that I was supposed to say anything. No, I think I was covered, right? Okay. All right. Okay, we don't necessarily have a superintendent's report this evening, so we're going to move on to subcommittee reports. And we don't actually have any for those as well, since we're just getting up and running with all of those. But there is a list there of the committees that we do have. And Ms. Madrigal is always organizing and calendaring those for us to attend as well. So now we'll move on to 9E, which is the St. Helena's Teachers Association report to the board. Mr. Lusseldorf, please. Thank you.
Good evening, trustees.
Thanks for being here.
No problem. I just want to say thank you on behalf of the teachers. We have a formula that is, I think, on our salary this year that is giving us a chance to keep up with cost of living increases in this valley. And one of my primary goals is to try to keep teachers at least living in Napa Valley, and this gives us a chance to stay relevant there. And I think that's a really powerful statement to the teachers, and we really appreciate it. Thank you. So, all right, that's it.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, now we have item F is the CSEA report to the board. Thank you for joining us again. And
good evening, trustees, cabinet members, and colleagues. As you know, my name is Rita Ortega Vidal, and I'm the CSCA Chapter 287 president. I would first like to start by thanking Mr. Heller for inviting us and encouraging us to be a part of the board meeting tonight and every month. He meets with us regularly to share input, and collectively we work together to avoid any conflicts and help meet the needs of the district and employees. As you know, we have here Nikki, who is our secretary, and we have Josefina, who is our VP, and David, who is coaching tonight, so he was not able to join us. CSEA members comprise as about 70 members from the 180 employees at St. Helena Unified School District. We are hardworking, supporting staff. When something breaks or leaks, maintenance is often there within minutes. When we need another bus driver, an employee in another classification may pick up the route. The custodians will often pick up student helpers to give them a connection and prevent isolation at recess or at lunch. Our technology team works throughout the summer, making sure we have everything that we need to start the year off. Our paraeducators are vital to the daily success and the students and make schools accessible to our special friends. We are grateful for the opportunity to work in St. Helena schools, and even with challenges of deferred maintenance, our campuses look pretty good. We enjoy better working conditions when we might have in other districts. I wanted to share with you a photo taken at our annual May meeting and barbecue, where we enjoyed delicious ribeye steaks and gift cards as prizes that we had. Our winners are as pictured on the screen. We have Joey Pelosi. He's a paraeducator at the primary. School is on the far left. Josefina. She's our Senior Secretary of Academic Services and CSCA Chapter 287 Vice President, is on the right, followed by Michelle Hout. She is our Data and Technology Integrational Specialist. And David Perry, lead custodian at the primary, is on the top right. And down in the front is Fernando Galvan, our lead custodian. As classified school employees, we commit to serving SHUSD as fellow educators and promote best outcomes for students. Thank you.
Thank you. As a board, I know we would just like to acknowledge and honor that we are very much aware that our classified staff are what helps keep our schools going, and we know we can't do it without all of our classified staff. So thank you very much. And I'll be on the hunt for that $25 gift card at my house, believe me. So thank you. Okay, but thank you very much. We appreciate you very much.
I have to tell you a quick little story because I've talked about my grandchild all the time, but I was putting together my report and he saw the picture of Dave and he goes, "Oh, Meanie, he's the greatest." So he made an impact already at TK.
Love that. Okay, we're moving on to items G, H, I, and J, and I'll remind the trustees that these are all written reports by our principals. And we thank you, as always, for providing this information and acknowledging the volunteers. I was the adult education classes I saw running at this high school. That's great. That seems like those are well attended. So kudos on that. Trustees, were there anything you needed about the reports that you needed for additional information or anything? No? Okay. Okay. Yeah. As always, we appreciate them very much. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to item 10A, which is the presentation on the St. Helena High School cell phone and smart watch policy. Mr. Cinto, please.
All right, good evening. I've got a new clicker.
Oh.
I feel like I should wait.
I know,
Mr. Samuels walked in, right? Everybody's been talking about him for the last half hour.
Mr. Samuels, welcome. We just introduced everybody on the board, so we were just thanking and acknowledging all of our classified staff for everything that you do, because as we'll repeat the message, schools don't happen without our classified staff. So thank you for everything, and we appreciate you being here.
How'd the 8th grade game go? No. Okay. Okay.
Okay. Mr. Cinto, thank you.
All right, thanks for stealing my thunder, Dave. All right, so here we are. Before I begin, I just want to let you know it's working. Didn't plan on infusing that in the presentation, but it's working well. The clicker, however, is not working. Oh, there we go. Okay. So tonight I'm going to just share briefly the policy, consequences, communication, and some data I collected really, really quickly from both students and teachers. So this is the policy as written. We had a faculty meeting yesterday, and I wanted to, based on some of the feedback I received in the teacher survey, was to remind them that they're in charge of their classroom, right? So if there's instances when they need a student to take pictures of the whiteboard because of what they're doing, or take pictures of notes, that's perfectly within their purview. Is that we only ask that they return them to the caddies once they're done. And that seems to have been received well, but to date we have not had issues with people not following what we're asking. All right, I'm gonna make this real snappy. We also haven't had to impose any consequences, and that's a testament to our students. Honestly, when Mr. Fetters and I were talking about the updated policy, communicating it to teachers, communicating to families and students, we did not anticipate, as much as we have to author consequences, we didn't anticipate the degree to which students would be following right out of the gate. We've had zero issues. We haven't had to confiscate a single cell phone to date. And I think what you'll see in some of the student responses is that they acclimate very well to new expectations, particularly when it's expected across the board. So luckily, no added discipline. This is what we sent home to families. We wanted to make sure that families had a conversation with their children, right? This is not just a school issue. I think I communicated last time we were here that anytime the day, I forgot what it was called, day of detachment. Yeah, the day we had day of detachment, or any time that we've had some kind of emergency on campus, if students don't have access to their cell phones, next thing you know, we get about 500 phone calls in the main office wondering, how do I get in touch with my child? So as you can kind of see in the last sentence there, we encourage families to discuss a new policy and their communication expectations with their children, because at the high school level, when are you picking up? Are you picking up your younger sibling? Where are you going to be after school? Are you going to work? All of those things are real communication needs that parents have with their children, and vice versa. So we wanted to make sure that parents understood as well that, hey, between this time and this time, you probably won't hear back from me. And that has seemed to work out well. We're not getting a ton of phone calls in the office. But we wanted to make sure families knew that this is a partnership, right? This is not the school being the heavy. This is, everybody needs to participate. All right, now to the fun stuff. We like data, and this is, I sent out a 4-question survey to staff. You can kind of see, focusing on what have you noticed, and this was, gosh, I forget, second week in, so this is very preliminary, and we'll try and capture some of this later. But this is exactly what you want to see, and I did it really quickly on the fly, but increase, no observable impact, and then decrease. So in terms of student focus and attention, teachers, 91% of teachers said, yeah, I notice greater focus and attention. Academic honesty, that one hasn't been observed that much yet. Obviously, academic honesty can be done on a computer as well with AI. And then peer engagement, that's another great one. And I would say there's been observable impact even outside of the classroom as well, where students carry on conversations that they might have had in classroom outside of the classroom, forgetting to pull out their cell phone. And then the last one you do want to see more yellow in that one is decreased time spent on classroom management. So teachers have not had to manage their classroom from a disciplinary standpoint as much. I would surmise, I have not asked, but the increase in time spent on classroom management is because they found another outlet for distraction, right? Some students, but obviously the decrease far surpasses the increase in time spent on classroom management. So that's the quantitative data. Here's some really quick qualitative data. You can see I quoted, and I had much more, but these are ones that I just selected about the improvement that teachers have seen in their classroom in terms of collaboration. Obviously with mathematics, there's a lot of collaboration going on already, so that has heightened it even more. And we anticipated this as well. I love Mr. Harrington's quote. Now, rarely are students asking to go to the bathroom, right? You don't need to take that break, or you can wait. As you can imagine, the student's assessment is slightly different. But that's okay. I mean, you're not seeing any yellow on any of those. Obviously, I didn't ask them about classroom management, but they've recognized that they have greater focus and attention without their phones. Obviously, similar in academic honesty in terms of not as much increase. And what's the last one? Peer engagement. So they're recognizing it themselves. I love. I shared this presentation with the parent group the other evening. I love the students' assessment as well. Whoever wrote the last quote, very articulate. I think in general, there's a pretty low net impact for a majority of students. But obviously, there's other quotes that I have that, some are not as happy about it and don't think it was as big of an issue. But on the whole, I would say all students recognize that it is a good thing, and they're following procedure, which is awesome. I did not anticipate anything less from our students, and it's been great. And of course, I'm always looking to showcase Mr. Fetters, even though I forget to mention his name every single back to school night. But now I have to always forget his name because I always do. Any
Thank
questions?
you, Mr. Cinto.
Yeah.
Is there any public comment on this agenda item?
I know.
Come on.
Hi,
Welcome.
thank you. Thank you so much. I'm Anna Shuteau, and I have a student at RLS and also one at the high school. So first, thank you so much for doing this policy. We're just thrilled to see it I know today we have another mom, Molly, that's on Zoom that'll be wanting to Zoom in, and I know you keep seeing us on this, but it's not just us. I promise you, you saw it in the numbers that signed the petition. The last time I think it was 131. We continue to talk to parents and we continue to get support for this because we hear what the students are saying and we continue to look at the data and see that it is a distraction. There are some negative consequences, so this is really seen as a positive and a step forward. So first, just thank you. It was notable at the high school back to school night. I couldn't go. My husband and I are balancing busy schedules. He went. One of the teachers said it was a game changer, a math teacher. We love hearing that. It makes us feel so happy because we want all of our students. We want to give them the best skills and the best just learning opportunity possible. Same at the RLS. The back to school night last night was fantastic. Just with that field and seeing our principal out there playing with the students on the basketball court. There were groups of students, 8th graders, that were there to help the 6th graders. I'm forgetting the term right now because I don't have an 8th grader, but they were there to help us parents. They were so engaging. They were not on any devices. I know these students have them. They were there, they were present, they were looking at me and smiling and helped me find my way, and other parents. They were interacting with their peers. I want to see more of that and help us create that environment. So I'm here tonight to primarily say thank you and also say just anything we can do to encourage those kind of interactions. If it's sometimes there's breaks at lunch and kids can play ping pong or something that we're helping them to have more of those conversations where those phones are away and we help them want to keep the phones away and be interacting and remember just that how fun it can be and how fulfilling and connecting it can be when the devices are put away and it doesn't all happen on there. Let's see. The only other thing I wanted to say is that it does take parent conversation and training. I have to say my husband and I would text our son when we needed him to know when we were picking him up or changes of plans. And now it does take just, the night before we sit down and figure out what the plan is for tomorrow. And I've had to train myself to do that, to not just expect it to happen. So I really appreciate that communication and the reminder. And just here to say that as parents, we're in this with all of you and are here to support and do whatever we can to keep making it better. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Is there a public comment on Zoom? Thank you.
Hi, thank you so much for taking my comment. My name is Molly Bjorkman, and I have Andreas Bjorkman in the high school. And I want to echo Anna Chateau's thank you. Thank you, school board, for implementing the cell phone policy change. Thank you, administration. Thank you, staff. Thank you, teachers, for carrying out this change. I very much appreciate and applaud your efforts. And it sounds like it's going well. And I, as a parent dealing with this at home, I realize that, this may or may not be a big effort depending on what student you're dealing with. I just want to kind of keep the focus on, trying not to have this be a punishment, but to realize that cell phones are made to be addictive. So like the blings and the notifications and the text messages, like the companies and the apps created on them. I know my son would wake up every morning, he'd go, Mom, I have to log in and get the 5,000 points. And he would do that every day. And if he couldn't do that, he would get his sister to do it for him on his device. So my kind of thinking is, how can we as a community, we as parents, we as schools kind of keep the cell phone distraction from the kids and maybe work so it's not a punishment, but they're prevented from having that be their focus as opposed to socializing and learning being their focus. So if there's more that, we can do to encourage socialization, I'm curious. I think the policy is great. It sounds like it's going well. Is there more support that's needed to ensure that it continues to go well, maybe for the kids that were the ones that were going to the bathroom more frequently? I don't know. Just talking out ideas and, maybe it's too much, but what about during athletic events, on the buses? Other school field trip outings? Could more socializing be encouraged on those situations? And I realize that may be a big ask because, sometimes that's break time for everybody. I get it. And then I'm also maybe suggesting, not all parents are tech savvy. Maybe like an educational session where you educate parents on how to make your cell phone less addictive. Because I know there's so many different things you can turn off. So it's more educational and not like kind of lockdown. So those are just some thoughts.
Thank you, Molly.
I really appreciate you looking into this. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to phone in with us. I appreciate that. Is there anyone else who would like to publicly comment on this agenda item? Okay. Trustees, any questions about this agenda item? And Sunny as well. This is an opportunity because you are a student voice as well. So please know that this is an opportunity for you to ask questions, make commentary, because you are our boots on the ground person. And this policy in practice is new this year at the high school. So you have a before and after perspective as well, right? So, but anyway, trustees, if you have questions or comments, please.
I can say something.
Okay.
Okay. So I don't know if this is like I don't know, but that little comment, the last one, that was me.
Wow. Good job. Yeah.
Thank you. I wasn't trying to get kudos, but I'm just saying I still agree with what I said there. I think I definitely, I don't notice much improvement on for me, but I do see kind of a general improvement in the classroom. But I also think it's really important to acknowledge protecting kind of students' ability to improve themselves. As I said in that little blurb, it's hard to get that motivation to stay off your phone, but once you do, it makes you that much stronger of, a writer or doing your assignments, anything like that, keeping track. And also phones are tools. Obviously, a lot of kids like to play games and, you see that with the younger kids, but I think learning to use your phone as a tool for email, for, planning, using the notes, using your schedule has been really helpful for me. And so I think when we start to get into that realm of taking it away of field trips and other activities like that, kind of starts to get in kind of like a dangerous area. So I just want to make sure I have my opinion clear on that. Yeah.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah.
I actually have a question for you, so thank you. Good quote. I would not have talked about net
Impact,
change or net.
So great.
What was it? Yeah. It's like, whoa. Here's a future economist, maybe. I was actually curious. So one of the times I almost called Mr. Fetters because there was a cell phone use alert in my family, but you don't know who that is. But it turned out to be Access. So I was just curious if you find that that's an avenue where it should be extended or keep it as it is. When you talked about learning self-regulation, I totally get that. And we've got freshmen all the way to seniors. You're more mature than probably some. So I was just curious what your take is on that.
I've actually thought about this. Access is kind of a funny time. It's really easy to let it go by. And I remember I'd always procrastinate and just kind of hang out with my friends during it. And it taught me oh my gosh, I should have used that time. And now I'm spending hours at my desk in my house trying to complete these assignments. And so I think that's another thing. The phone is just kind of an extension of that, of learning to manage your time. School's giving you time to manage your assignments. And now that it's even less, it's an hour and 20 minutes, I believe. It's just that smaller of a window. I actually think it will encourage kids to not be on their phone, or at least it encourages me. So that's what I have to say about that. But thank you for your question.
If I could address that as well, I think one of the challenges is we want to be realistic, right? And I agree with what one of our callers just mentioned about we don't want it to feel punitive, but the more restraint you attach to something, you're creating more conflict with students in an unsupervised setting, right? Obviously, Mr. Fetters and I were out during Access period. We don't want to be the phone police, and I can guarantee you with certainty that that's what we would turn into. And you're just creating more conflict that when you try and extend that kind of policy into it at a time when you've got 400 kids outside or in classrooms or in and out of classrooms, that's what it would turn into. So I just want to be judicious about our application, knowing that these are young adults that we're going to be setting free in 8 months. So I would say it's working as intended now. The benefits are good, but obviously we want to make sure we're operating with everything in mind. So
I have a quick question, and I hope this never happens, but if you ended up in a lockdown situation, are the kids given their phones?
They're in the
to
caddies.
contact
Yeah, no,
parents, or-
like and part of our communication and our safety plan is we don't want parents communicating. I mean, we know invariably they will, right? Like, and nothing is more scary for a parent than not being able to contact your child. However, from a safety standpoint, you don't want phones flashing in a classroom. We just had a fire drill or a lockout today, and then an evacuation. You don't want part of the lockdown process is, go in a corner where you can't be seen. We have a ton of windows on our campus. You don't want to see a bunch of cell phones going off. So because the teachers turn off the lights, they close the blinds. I mean, that's a safety precaution, but we're also realistic. We want parents to know that their children are safe. So being discreet about that and managing it appropriately, but we're not going to go hand them out. Like, we try and secure the site as quickly as possible.
Okay, great, thank you.
Principal Cinto, I want to commend you on how quickly this was rolled out. It was just a matter of weeks. Thank you for staying ahead of the other districts in the state. I know we're going to see more rollouts than LA Unified and New York Unified. So I'm really impressed that we're the first district in the Valley that has a healthy, robust policy. So I commend you and the district. Thank you.
Yeah, I always know something's important because my spam fills up a heck of a lot. I mean, if any of us were in the business of marketing to schools, cell phone pouches and caddies and this, that, and the other, we'd all be rich right now.
Yeah. So you pretty much answered my question about access. What about advisory with
Same.
phones?
Yeah, same. They put them in their caddies.
They put them in their caddies. Okay. And then my other question is, what does lunchtime look like in the quad if kids decide to remain on campus?
In terms of cell phones?
Like, I guess, sorry, that was half of a question. Now that we have the new policy, and it might be too soon to tell, has there been any shift in phone culture during lunchtime? Less kids on their phones?
I mean, I would say anecdotally, yes, but not noticeably. I mean, I've heard from kids, like I was describing in the beginning, is like they tend to carry on conversations that might have been initiated in class, but I can't say that with any degree of certainty.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, I mean, I think we have a healthy school climate anyway.
Yeah.
We're out during access period all the time, and kids are working, talking. Kids are not sitting on benches buried on their phones. I could tell you that. They're using them, absolutely, which is okay. But yeah, it's not this zombie apocalypse on campus of kids staring at their cell phones.
Right, right. And Sunny, I really want to say thank you for your comments. Their student board representative comments are always extremely valuable for all of us board members. You are a very intelligent person. You have decided to be on the student board rep. Your comment obviously indicates a high level of vocabulary. And I can tell that you are the type of student that is reflective and learns from error, learns from, needing to make changes. And that is a talent that's going to help you carry through the rest of your life. Unfortunately, there are students in high school that still need that support and that reminder. And I think that having the phones and the caddies is a way to show students what their learning and listening and participation can look like when their phones are away from their bodies. And then hopefully they can carry what they're experiencing from 8:15 in the morning to 3, and when they go home and do homework, they can have that reminder of, okay, when my phone was away at school, I was able to do so much. And now that my phone is right next to me, I'm not. Maybe I should go put my phone in the other room or turn it off. So that's just some things that were going through my head. But again, your comments extremely valuable. Thank you so much. And Mr. Cinto, thank you as well.
Yeah.
Trust anybody else? No, I just want to echo commending the swiftness with which this was implemented. And I just, for what it's worth, on back to school night, I received unsolicited feedback from staff that said thank you. I mean, not that we necessarily are the people that championed this in. I mean, it was important to us, but I mean, it's thank you to you and your staff as what mostly, because they're like, it's been a game changer. Game changer was said to me. They were, I mean, one staff member actually had tears in her eyes saying they're talking to each other, and it was just all very positive. So congratulations, and I hope that it continues. And for those who need the extra push, that this policy will help them. So thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, students, as well, because students have to make this happen too. So thank you to the students.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Cinto. Okay. We are now on to item 10B, which is the request to accept gifts, donations, or earmarked funds. I would like to ask somebody to read this. Jean Marie Wolf, would you be so kind as to read this fabulous list of our donors? Okay. I just said the amount, the donated by,
You got it. All right.
Okay.
So $2,750 was donated by Gerald and Michelle Hyde, and that was scholarships. Description is Jerry Hyde and Michelle Hyde. I think I can't get the whole thing. Community college. There we go. Community college scholarship in memory of Bruce Frank. Second one was $42, Susanna Wilms, for football, and that was a donation. We had $1,600 from the St. Helena Chamber of Commerce, 2024 scholarships in going towards scholarships. $1,000 from the Upper Napa Valley Republican Women's Federation, and that was part of the 2024 Marge Preston Scholarship. We had $700, Larry E. Varland, I hope I'm saying his name right, Scholarship Fund, for scholarships. $3,000 from Azteca Market in Taqueria, and that went towards scholarships. And lastly, $600 from Carmen and Gail Policy, donated to football team meals donation. Thank you to all of those donations.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone who wishes to publicly comment on this agenda item? Nothing? Okay. Trustees, any questions about this agenda item? No? Thank you. Yeah.
I'm going to go to Aztec a lot more often. I'm telling you, that's amazing. Thank you.
It's our intention that we'd like to every month bring forth. This is a small slice of the generosity we receive throughout the course of a year and a school year. The intention of the district and the board is to bring forth this list monthly so that this generosity can be publicly acknowledged and thanked. So with that, there's no other questions. We'll say thank you once again to the generosity of our donors in our community. Is there a motion to approve the gifts, donations, or earmarked funds as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Madrigal will conduct a roll call vote.
Trustee Wolf?
Aye.
Trustee Kerr?
Aye.
Trustee Moran?
Aye.
Trustee Simon?
Aye.
President Pelosi?
Aye. Motion carried. Okay. Our next one is 10C, which is the adoption of Resolution 2415 against bullying, harassment, discrimination, and violence. Trustee, I would like to ask that somebody would read this one as well. Would somebody like to? Yeah, you guys are good. Okay. Sunny, would you care to read that out loud? Actually, let's pull up the resolution and just here, and you can just start at the. Okay, thank you.
Put your mic up.
We would much rather. We would like to hear your voice.
Okay. Whereas St. Helena Unified School District reaffirms its commitment to ensuring that all students and staff have the right to attend schools that are safe, inclusive, and free from bullying, harassment, and discrimination and violence. And whereas a secure and nurturing school environment characterized by both physical and emotional safety is fundamental for the thriving of academic achievement and personal growth for all students and staff. Whereas bullying, harassment, discrimination, and violence, as well as the fear of such harm, have adverse effects on learning, contribute to low self-esteem, depression, feelings of isolation, anger, and in the most severe cases, may lead to school violence or suicide. Whereas an effective learning environment is one where distractions are minimal, drugs, violence, and fear are absent, no student is subject to discrimination. Behavioral expectations are clearly articulated, and consequences for misconduct are uniformly and equitably applied. And whereas establishing safe and inclusive school environments requires an all-encompassing, coordinated effort that includes school-wide, district-wide, and community-wide strategies in which all entities and individuals recognize and act upon their vital roles in establishing and maintaining a positive climate for teaching and learning. Whereas the month of October continues to be recognized as a National Bullying Prevention Month, providing schools and communities the platform to raise awareness and educate students, parents, and the broader community about their respective roles in preventative bullying. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the St. Helena Unified School District endorses the objectives of the National Bullying Prevention Month for the school year of 2024 to 2025. The board commits to collaborate with a diverse array of local community stakeholders, parents, students, teachers, staff to review, development, implement, and monitor policies and programs that nurture and sustain a school climate that is free from bullying, harassment, discrimination, and violence. Adopted this day, 12th of September, 2024, at a regular meeting by the following vote.
Perfect job. Thank you so much. Is there anyone who wishes to publicly comment on this agenda item?
I'm not in the public, though.
Okay. Trustees or staff commentary on this agenda item?
I just wanted to take an opportunity to share that even though October is National Bullying Prevention Month, that our district has activities and safeguards in place to ensure that students have a safe learning environment where they're included and feel like they're all a part of the school community. But we did want to take an opportunity to share with the community some of the things that each school is doing within the month of October to highlight anti-bullying next month, and those are ongoing things that they have in place as well. So I just thought it would be a good resource, not only just to look at tonight, but we have a link on our website that's available too, in case there's any issues with bullying that parents can use as a resource, but always contact their school principal and or support staff if there's any issues that arise.
Thank you, Mr. Heller. That's very helpful to have that list. Appreciate that. Trustees, any questions? No? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the adoption of Resolution 24-15 as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Sunny, would you like to cast a vote? You can just say yes. That would be perfect. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Ms. Madrigal will conduct a roll call vote.
Trustee Calder? Trustee Wolf?
Aye.
Trustee Kerr?
Aye.
Trustee Mora?
Aye.
Trustee Simon?
Aye.
President Pelosi?
Aye. Motion carried. Well, perfectly done, Sunny. I know this is all new, so we're here to help you along. So but you did great. Yes.
Did you want to just give a quick break?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Does everybody like a kind of a 5-minute break to have a comfort break, and then we'll just come right back. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We will pick up on item 11A, which is the revised 2024-25 local control accountability plan. Mr. Heller, please.
Yes, after our final approval in June of 2020, or excuse me, of the 24-27 LCAP, NCOE had a few recommendations and edits that didn't affect the overall intent and structure of the LCAP, but they were things that needed to be amended before it was going to be approved by the Napa County Board. So we've made the necessary corrections and are sharing the updated LCAP with the requested modifications. Just for public transparency and review, it does not need to be reapproved. It's just more to share what the county shared with us and just to share the LCAP again.
Great. Thank you very much. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Trustees, any questions on this agenda item?
I don't have a question, but I don't know who reviewed it and provided the recommendations, but I liked them, so I wanted to say thank you.
Oh, I can add that that's Lucy Pearson Edwards from the Napa County Office of Education, who's our Director of Continuous Improvement for the county, and she reviews all the LCAPs thoroughly.
So thank you to her.
Yeah, that's great.
And thank you for bringing it forward again as well.
Yes.
Appreciate that. Okay. Item 11B is the 2024-25 Local Control Accountability Plan monthly presentation on professional learning communities this time. Mr. Heller, please.
Okay. So we'd like to, one of the big initiatives in the district is our ongoing work in professional learning communities, and we'd like to give an update to the trustees and the community on our work ahead and what we've accomplished so far. The next slide. So what we'd like to share in the slides is just to kind of review what professional learning communities are to make sure we're all in the same understanding. Talk a little bit about our staff development and early release days that are new this year, and then talk about some outcomes and next steps in the PLC process. So at a very high level, on the next slide, we are talking about professional learning communities. And I just want to make sure that we are, as a district, committed to all the foundations of professional learning communities. All 4 sites are working diligently on this. They're all at different places, as we've talked about, but they are all invested in this and led by their principals and their instructional leadership teams, which are made up of 4 certificated members, and those 5 people get together to develop the vision and goals for each site. So this is our platform of work. It aligns our instruction, reviewing practices, disaggregating data, and developing common standards and also common formative assessments. So a lot of work goes into this, and again, it's spearheaded at each site and under the umbrella of district oversight.
Okay, good evening, everyone. So why professional learning communities? To ensure all St. Helena Unified School District students learn, and those who will be independent adults learn at grade level or higher. And the reason we have that distinction is because we do have special ed students that will not be independent adults, perhaps, but all students can learn. So we wanted to make sure that we are holding ourselves accountable for all students, plus students that are going to become independent adults. They need to be learning at grade level or higher. And how? So how do we do this? We do this by providing students with a guaranteed and viable curriculum. And what does that mean? It means that students are guaranteed the same curriculum regardless of their teachers they're assigned or the school they attend. St. Helena's Unified School District is fortunate in that we have grade level sites. So we have the K2 span and the 3, 5, 6, 8. And that's really unique. A lot of districts do not have that. So it allows us to really put more emphasis and more time into the guaranteed and viable curriculum for our students. And what that means is basically that all teachers or all students will have same learning experiences regardless of their classroom teacher if they're in the same grade level. So if we hold them to the same expectations, they are provided the same kind of learning opportunities, they're held against the same expectations, we use common rubrics, common assessments, so it's that guaranteed experience for students in specific grade levels. So all K students will have the same experience, all first grade, and so on. Okay, so that's what the guaranteed and viable curriculum is. And Robert Marzano suggests this area represents the #1 opportunity to raise the level of student achievement, because it allows us to really do quality professional learning community work in our PLTs and our professional learning teams. So professional learning communities, we focus on the 4 questions. And the #1 question is, what do we want all students to learn or be able to do? Those are the outcomes we're looking for. And then how will we know when they have learned it? That's the assessment piece. And then how will we respond when some students don't learn it? That's the intervention piece. And then how will we respond when students already know it? How will we accelerate their learning? So those are the 4 PLC questions that we will be addressing.
Great. So as part of our ongoing staff development built into this year's budget is, you may have heard before, we've talked about CAPS network, and this is where the instructional leadership teams along with the principals will go to various locations either in Sonoma County or San Rafael and work with other cohorts in 6 sessions of training, taking the foundations of PLC, having conversations about that, and then bringing it back to their sites for implementation. So there are multi-levels of structure that go into this, so it's not just a one-size-fits-all, but each training has an aspect of professional learning communities that they work on together and then they bring back to their sites. So the high school and RLS will be continuing in what's called Year 2 cohort, and that will be in Sonoma County for 6 sessions. And unfortunately, the elementary and primary have gone through CAPS training to the point that they're no longer viable for any of additional trainings. So to keep the work and the momentum going, we're contracting with Dr. Amy to come back to the district to work with their individual teams. And starting next Monday, actually, he'll be here in district working with the TK2 and the grades 3-5 teams here just in the district to keep the conversations going and keep the alignment going between the 2 primary and elementary sites. And then if we go to the next, the district made a commitment this past spring into developing new bell schedules, especially at the high school. They were the one site that we determined, along with RLS to an extent, that just did not have enough time built into their day to do staff development. TK5 has had that opportunity built into their schedule in the past with early release Wednesdays. And so you may recall we made a concerted effort to make sure that all 4 sites were afforded the same opportunity to have staff development. So it's already been positively received by staff who appreciate the opportunity to not only further their work in PLCs, but to meet regularly with their departments to analyze and look at their standards. So this also has an added benefit for our classified staff where they're able to get some additional training times and some opportunities to meet either formally or informally with like groups on these days when the certificated staff are meeting. So it's yielded a double benefit there. And then the district in the past has had vertical articulation days, and we've used those for a myriad of staff development opportunities, but it kind of felt, as I mentioned last spring, it was like a misnomer that we were calling them vertical articulation, and we really didn't have any interconnection between staff. So this schedule, this is a sample schedule that we developed early, but I wanted to show the alignment that we're really shooting for on the first Wednesday of each month is to have opportunities for elementary, so that would be primary in the elementary school, and then secondary being the middle and high school, to begin strengthening their alignment and their conversations. And then also you can see as we move through the year that there would be opportunities for TK12 to get together. So we would have a strand that may have a teacher representing TK or kinder all the way up through the senior class, and then having opportunities for them to discuss math, English, social science, science standards, as well as elective or for world language, VAPA, things like that, that will continue the conversation between them. And we are also just on those Wednesdays building in our Wellness Wednesday. We're going to keep that alive. Erica's a huge proponent and organizer of that, so we keep that alive, and we're going to move that from December this year into November. So it'll be a little bit earlier prior to the holidays where we'll have our staff wellness event. And then also in May, we have our Staff Appreciation Day, kind of end of the year wrap up, where we have taken an opportunity to celebrate staff and also have a staff appreciation event. So something that everybody looks forward to. But I did want to highlight really that our vertical articulation days, I'm really excited about this. Our past vertical articulation day this past in September on the 4th was a TK8 math alignment. And, you know, the middle school math teachers came and presented a lot of standards to the TK5 group. And they talked about where there was gaps and where there were things that they began the conversation about as students matriculate through, where are their holes and what do we need to do to work our way backwards from 8th grade math to make sure that students are prepared for each grade level and in our guaranteed viable curriculum. So I think one of the outcomes that I took away, and our principals are in the room and you can feel free to ask them afterwards, but we had a conversation about different terms that are used at each of the 3 sites when talking about a variable. And some sites were calling it an unknown and some were calling it a variable. And then by the time students got to middle school, they were calling it the unknown variable. And so, you know, just aligning our language and making sure that, you know, moving forward, all the teachers agreed to just start calling it a variable at a very young age. So there was consistency in the language that we're using in mathematics. So I thought that was an interesting takeaway, and it wouldn't have occurred unless we got everybody in the same room.
Okay, yes, it was wonderful. Just to add to that, it was really powerful to listen to the conversations because we started off with 8th grade, then 7th grade, 6th grade, all the way down to TK and K. And it was really just encouraging to listen to the conversations and for the kinder group to like listen to what was happening, what the expectation was at 6th, 7th, and 8th, and how, you know, I think it happened in several grade levels, the realization that we needed to up the rigor. And so some adjustments were already being made right there on the spot. So it was really encouraging to see just that vertical articulation. But some of the deliverables from this work is to make sure that we have aligned priority standards. And that's what was happening in that our very first day, where we were noticing that there were some gaps. We didn't have the coherence in all areas. And so we are spending time to make sure that we are really looking at some of the guiding documents. So there's Achieve the Core is the group that created the math framework. And so they provided some guidance about having that coherence. And so we want to make sure that we are using that guidance with our priority standards so that we're not leaving out a really critical priority standard in our identification of priority standards. And so we really are focusing on making sure we have coherence and so that we can build that guaranteed and viable curriculum. And so there's going to be some more time spent on that because we need to make sure that we're laying a really strong foundation. We're spending this time with math right now, and look forward to working with the high school to continue that vertical articulation. But it's been really exciting to see that, to listen to the conversations and just the reflection of what we're expecting students to do. And for our next steps, once those priority standards are identified and we agree that there's coherence in our priority standards, then the real work begins because every standard has multiple learning targets. And so we are going to have to do the work of unpacking those standards to really identify what are the learning targets within this standard, because it's really important to have clarity around what we want students to do. Because if we don't have clarity as educators, our students are not going to know how to meet our expectations. And so the identifying the learning targets is really important. So we're going to be taking some time once we all agree that these are the priority standards. We're going to start to unpack them and identifying all the learning targets. And the primary grades, you're going to hear statements like, I can this, I can that. Those are considered the learning targets. And after that, once those are identified, then you begin to identify your common formative assessments. How are we going to assess? How are we going to know that the students are learning those priority standards, that they truly have mastered those? And so it's really important to have common formative assessments so that we're all holding students to the same expectations. And so those are often are called CFAs, just short for common formative assessments, but you'll hear CFAs a lot. Teachers are going to start creating those CFAs or identifying their CFAs so that they're consistently using those across the grade level. And then we need to identify common rubrics. So it's not good enough to just have common assessments. We need to also have common expectations of proficiency. And so we're going to be identifying common rubrics for that, for each of those CFAs to make sure that we're consistent, we have consistent expectations. And then, so that students know, right? Because if we don't know what proficiency looks like, students will not know and be able to reach that target. So we want to be really clear. As Brene Brown says, clear is kind. So we want to be as clear as possible for our students so that they can reach their potentials and experience success, academic success. Then we're also going to provide interventions for those students who are not successful with demonstrating proficiency on the CFAs. We need to be really consistent about how we're going to provide those interventions, what they're going to be, do we need additional resources, time, and then also provide extended learning opportunities for those students that already know it, already mastered that. We don't want students to be bored. We want to continue to challenge students, so it's really important to also address that fourth question. What are we going to do to provide extension, more rigor, more learning opportunities for those students that have already mastered the learning? And that's pretty much, that's the work of the PLC. It's a lot of work, but it's really powerful work and exciting work.
Thank you.
Questions?
Is there any public comment on this agenda item? No? Trustees, questions about this agenda item? Jump on in.
Maybe. Yes, I actually have a couple. Going back to your district-wide vertical articulation days, I don't know that it really matters, but you say elementary, secondary, and then some of them say district-wide. What is the difference if we're, I don't know what the difference is when you said primary or elementary includes the lower two schools and secondary includes the top
so
two.
on that chart, elementary, secondary is, if you look at elementary TK5 and then secondary 612.
There's two groups.
Yeah,
So-
two groups, and then
okay.
the other one would be all four together.
Got it.
That's probably an easier way of explaining it, two and
Okay.
two,
Okay.
and then the other one being all four. Yeah.
Thank you. And then when the another slide, you're talking about having the TK through 5, the Dr. Amy
Yeah.
with the ILT.
Yes.
Is that now PLC advisor, or is this all teachers? I'm getting confused in terms and names now. Are all teachers attending those 6 sessions?
No.
Okay.
Just the instructional leadership team, which is the principal and the 4 PLC advisors.
PLC advisors.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to catch
No,
up.
that's good. No, you're on it.
The principal support network looked like it was for secondary, so it's not just principals. It's
Right.
whole ILT
Yeah,
again. Okay.
that's what they call it,
Weird
but
thing.
yes, it's the CAPS network, but it's principals and their teams, yes.
And now to my final question. The next steps. So we've seen these steps many times. I guess my question is, we're not the first people to be doing this, so I know that you're taking from people that have already become, I guess, like our primary school, distinguished or proficient school. So we're not starting from scratch. It sounds like we're creating all this from scratch. I assume we're not.
We're not, but it's really important for teachers to
Build it and own it.
Yes,
Yeah.
because if it's just provided to them, there tends to be lack of understanding.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're really analyzing which ones are important and why, and you're trying to justify that to your colleagues, and you have conversation about, well, that's not how I interpret that standard, that's where the powerful learning happens, because it's super important that us as adults have, really consistent expectations or understandings of the standards.
Yep. And then there's a roadmap, since we're all 4 schools, I guess 3, are at different stages. We have targets of when certain things are going to be done, like when they will all agree on term X, Y, Z, or on a variable. Do you have targets for that so that you know you can say that we've done X, Y, Z in this school year?
So this year, we're hoping to have our priority standards for math identified, but it really is a process because you're laying the foundation and you need to make sure that everybody understands and has the same understanding. So, I've done this work many times, and it's just different with every group because some people have common understanding, other educators will have like different understanding, and they want to debate it and really make a point for the ones that they feel are more important. So you have to really honor that process because it's a rich process.
Okay.
So it's really hard to give an exact timeline for that.
Thank you. I'm done.
Thank you. I appreciated what you shared about learning targets and identifying common formative assessments and common rubrics. So currently, what can we learn about the curriculum at the primary and the elementary? Do they use the same curriculum for English, language arts, and math from K to 5 or K to 8?
Yes, in terms of the core.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of, what I'm finding is there's a lot of, and I think there was a question about that from Trustee Mora about there's lots of supplemental programs. And so we need to really streamline that so that we're really intentional with what we're using. And
yeah, I guess my question's about continuity. And once children learn from one piece of supplemental material or the core curriculum, then how do we close gaps if kids are learning from different materials at different schools?
And that's the guaranteed and viable curriculum we're trying to get to. So yeah, absolutely. Those are really good questions because it's really hard to do powerful professional learning if you don't have consistency.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I had one more question if you could help me out with this. So I'm looking at the 4 questions that are modeled for the PLC. 2 of them, how will we respond when some students don't learn it? And it says intervention. And how will we respond when students already know it? Now, are these questions that the teachers ask themselves after looking at assessment, or are these questions that can be asked in real time during a lesson? How are these 2 questions learned? Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Because, I'm not sure if we're there consistently as a district, but it's really powerful to have baseline data so that you know, like, do these kids already know it? Like, if they already know what we expect for them at the end of the year.
Right.
We need to challenge them and not waste their time with that lesson because those are the
Yeah,
kids
and
that tend to drop out.
how can we pivot in real time
Exactly.
when a child doesn't understand or is already off and running?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Great,
Yeah,
thank
so
you.
it's in real time and also with pre-assessments, timely assessments, benchmark assessments, interim assessments. So we're talking about, we have a task force right now, an assessment task force that we just held our first meeting yesterday. Is it yesterday?
Yep.
It seems like such a...
It was yesterday.
Tuesday, right? Yeah. Okay, so this week we held our assessment task force meeting, and so we're trying to get really clear about what we're using and why. And so it was a really powerful meeting. We only had one so far, but it was really informative and made us question whether perhaps we are using the correct assessments and are we getting everything we want from the assessments we're giving to students. So lots of rich conversation, and you're welcome to come to those meetings if you'd like.
Thank you.
I think I have more comment than necessarily question. I know when we talk about next steps, the last one, providing and extending learning opportunities, I know this is all your first year in learning everything. That I think is a big star, maybe not star, big bright and shining light. Or a lot of parents feel like my child's above level and knows, and so here the material, go sit in the classroom, here's a worksheet. And I think that's a really important for the district to figure out how we can continue to challenge students that are at level or above, and not 6 months from now, not a year from now, because I think we've lost a few families because they feel like their child isn't getting that challenge. So I think that's just maybe something they all have priority, but in my opinion, I think that's something that needs to have priority.
Thank you.
I have an easy question, and I don't know is okay. It's working. In the on the vertical articulation days, on what is our classified staff then included in that articulation as well then, or how does that look for our classified staff on just the first Wednesday of each month?
The first Wednesday of each month, they have, there's behind that spreadsheet is actually a second sheet that says classified, and each of the directors has a opportunity for additional trainings. I could see Erica's working diligently behind the scenes maybe to find it. And so on those vertical articulation days, they'll, for example, in maintenance, they will have a proper training on how to lift things from North Bay. So there's a whole series run by each of the classified directors, and they fill it in. So there's a unified training, and boom, it's right there, perfect. So they have times to complete their mandated trainings, I know. And then you could see that we start to schedule in things, and they're not all the way through because we have to find different people that are available on those times. But a lot of our training comes from North Bay as far as safety, North Bay Insurance Carrier, or safety regulations for all those different sites. Erica meets with some of the clerical teams to review, new practices. Library media specialists have a consortium that they're a part of, and so that's opportunities for them to get together and talk about their practices. So there is not only the certificated side, but then there's a classified side that we're providing training for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great question.
Thank you. Anybody else? Sonia? Okay. Thank you both very much for that presentation. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, item 11C is the public hearing on the sufficiency of instructional materials and Williams Settlement Instruction and Materials and adopt Resolution 2411. Mr. Heller, please.
Yes, this annual resolution and public hearing align with California Education Code 60119 and the Williams Act settlement to ensure that each pupil in the St. Helena Unified School District has been issued curriculum to meet state achievement standards. The attached documents are certifications of the curriculum distribution as reported by the site's library media specialist and verified by the site principal. Some of the curriculum provided at the primary and elementary sites show the issuance of consumable materials that are aligned with state standards, but most of those curriculums also have web-based platforms for students to access. So I request that the board conduct a public hearing and approve the adoption of the resolution to certify the information provided in alignment with the Williams Act and that we are in full compliance.
Okay, thank you. So we will now conduct our public hearing. The public hearing for the sufficiency of instructional materials and Williams settlement is now open at 7:35 p.m. Will be held for a minimum of 1 minute if there is no comment. Comments during this public hearing should be limited to the sufficiency of instructional materials and Williams settlement. It is our goal to hear from all who wish to be heard. We now invite members of the audience, whether in person or on our hybrid platform, to address the Board of Trustees on the sufficiency of instructional materials and Williams settlement. So we'll hold it for at least 1 moment, but I must have caught it at the end of 7:30.
I got you. President Pelosi, 1 minute has elapsed. Ooh.
Thank you very much. The governing board has not heard any comments or concerns at this point. The public hearing is now closed at 7:36 p.m. I think I'm supposed to do that again. Trustees, do you have any questions about the sufficiency of instructional materials and Williams settlement? No? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the adoption of Resolution 24-11 as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Sunny, would you like to cast a vote? Yes. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Madrigal will conduct a roll call vote.
Trustee Calder. Trustee Wolf.
Aye.
Trustee Kerr.
Aye.
Trustee Mora.
Aye.
Trustee Simon.
Aye.
President Pelosi.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, now we're on to item 12, which is human resources. We're going to go first with item A, which is review and consider approval of the certificated salary schedules for the 2024-25. Dr. Vang, please.
Thank you, President Pelosi. So the last month I received the P-annual J29 property tax for last school year, which was 2023-24. I've completed my calculations, and there is an increase of 6.95% compared to the prior year's property taxes. We currently have, for this school year, we have a formula in place, and today I am bringing forth the St. Helena Teachers Association, SHTA's revised salary schedule. So this would be our certificated staff, and based on this formula, it generated a 5.67% increase to salary schedules, extra duty, and stipends. And I've attached the signed formula along with the revised certificated salary schedule, which really includes the SHTA group.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone participating or present who would like to publicly comment on this agenda item? No? Trustees, any questions about this agenda item?
No.
No? Okay. Trustee Wolf, did you have a question? No? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the certificated salary schedule for 2024-25 as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Madrigal will conduct a roll call vote.
Trustee Wolf.
Aye.
Trustee Kerr. Aye. Trustee Mora.
Aye.
Trustee Simon.
Aye.
President Pelosi.
Aye, motion carried. Item 12B, review and consider approval of the certificated management salary schedule for 2024-25. Dr. Vang again, please.
Thank you. So for this particular agenda item, I'm bringing forth the revised certificated management salary schedule, which also includes the increase of the 5.67%. Certificated management would include all the site administrators. And so this is the group and the revised salary schedule.
Okay, thank you so much. Is there anyone present or participating via Zoom who wishes to publicly comment on this agenda item? Trustees, any questions about this agenda item? No? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the certificated management salary schedule for 2024-25 as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Madrigal will conduct a roll call vote.
Trustee Wolf.
Aye.
Trustee Kerr.
Aye.
Trustee Mora.
Aye.
Trustee Simon.
Aye.
President Pelosi.
Aye, motion carries. 12C is review and consider approval of the classified management salary schedule for 2024-25. Dr. Vang.
All right. Again, revised classified manager salary schedule. This includes the executive assistants and the 4 directors. Same increase of 5.67. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone present or participating on Zoom who wishes to publicly comment on this agenda item? No? Trustees, any questions on this agenda item?
No.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the classified management salary schedule for 2024-25 as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Madrigal will conduct a roll call vote.
Trustee Wolf.
Aye.
Trustee Kerr.
Aye.
Trustee Mora.
Aye.
Trustee Simon.
Aye.
President Pelosi.
Aye, motion carries. Item 12D is to review and consider approval of the confidential salary schedule for 2024-25. Dr. Vang, please.
All right, so the confidential group includes the senior accounting tech position along with the payroll benefits technician position, and it also includes the increase of 5.67%. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone present or participating via Zoom who would like to publicly comment on this agenda item? No? Trustees, any questions about this agenda item? No? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the confidential salary schedule for 2024-25 as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Ms. Madrigal will conduct a roll call vote.
Trustee Wolf?
Aye.
Trustee Kerr? Aye. Trustee Mora?
Aye.
Trustee Simon?
Aye.
President Pelosi?
Aye. Motion carries. 12E. I didn't lose track, right? Am I on track, Erica? Yes, okay. 12E. Review and consider approval of the classified salary schedule for 2024-25. Dr. Vang, please.
And this would be our California School Employee Association group that you met earlier. So this is our classified team with the same increase of 5.67. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone participating via Zoom or present who would like to publicly comment on this agenda item? Trustees, any questions about this agenda item?
No.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the classified salary schedule for 2024-25 as presented?
I'm going to do the full sweep. I'm going to make that motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Madrigal will conduct a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Wolf?
Aye.
Trustee Kerr?
Aye.
Trustee Mora?
Aye.
Trustee Simon?
Aye.
President Pelosi?
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay. Item 13 is facilities. Number A is review, not number A, that does not make sense in an educational sense. Item A, review and approve the revised facility use fees to include the RLS track and field. Dr. Vang, please.
Thank you. So I'm bringing forth the revised facilities use fee schedule. The last time that the board approved the schedule was in 2017. And as you know, since then, we've just completed the RLS track and field, which needs to be added to the schedule. And so you have on the revised schedule, the track and field for RLS. Here in red, along with the high school track, which has always been in our reservation system, Facilitron, but for some reason it was not on the actual fee schedule. So we want to provide that clarity and include it in our fee schedule. So it's also in red. And you can see the amounts there as well. Are there questions?
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone participating via Zoom or present who wishes to publicly comment on this agenda item? We do have one written public comment that I know everybody has had an opportunity to read. I would perhaps, Ms. Madrigal, maybe that the person who penned that public comment should actually circle back with the district office, because our item in front of us is strictly all we're focusing on is adding the RLS track and field and the high school track. We're not addressing anything else on the fee schedule except for adding those. So this action item is not related to the entire fee schedule. It's just to the addition of those two items. So the way I understand, and please, you can correct me, but the way my reading of the public comment, it really requires a conversation because it's about something different than the items that we're taking action on, if that makes sense. Did I clarify that well enough for everybody? Okay.
Right.
Perhaps if you could reach out to the person who penned the public comment. But trustees, any questions about this? Okay.
I had this similar question, so I don't have any questions about the revised schedule and adding the track in, nor do I have any comment on prices because I don't know anything about what a going price is. What I wanted to ask for a follow-up was, I don't know if we've been charging people to use these facilities to date. all of the nonprofits that serve our St. Helena residents or the students. Mostly, they're probably also our students. So I guess my question was similar to the public comment, is I don't want, because we've approved a fee schedule, for people to all of a sudden have a change in their cost structure that they didn't know about, even though this was last approved in 2017. For example, if somebody hasn't been paying this to date, and then they get a bill and they're not expecting it, and they haven't been able to pass that cost along to the program or organization, I just don't want to create an unnecessary price. Well, it's not punitive, but just an unknown, right? So I just want to make sure that it's not, that it's communicated to everyone, like, hey, this is what's happening, it's a change, and work from there. Because I don't know what this means in terms of fee structure for all of our nonprofits.
So, if I understand what you're saying, you're asking that we are, if this is approved tonight, then it's moving forward and not going backward to any of our
Well, not even that.
use our facilities.
I don't know if we have charged people to use the high school track as an example, because it wasn't listed.
Right.
If somebody has said, I'm going to offer free track lessons because they have the track use for free, and all of a sudden we are asking them to pay and they haven't budgeted for that on their fees side, I just want that to be planned out.
Right, and so you're saying that for this year, kind of for like right now, if something's planned and they didn't know about the fee.
Yeah.
To continue that way.
Dr. Vang, would you like to add some commentary and context around that?
Yes, so we have an online reservation system called Facilitron that we use here at this district, and the fee schedule in Facilitron matches what the board approved in 2017. We the district's facility director, Mike Flores, and I have been meeting and working with different groups to ensure that they are aware of this schedule, and any reservations that are currently in the system, we've met with different groups to relay this information to them so that they are aware that we will honor what we may not have been charging, appropriately charging in the past for the season. However, moving forward, we will need to enforce and implement the fee schedule. So if you're a nonprofit and you have your nonprofit certificate, we'll need that in Facilitron, and then you get the nonprofit rate. And if you are a team that uses our, facilities on a seasonal basis, there's also a discount for that. So we are following what the board has approved. We've had meetings, communications with different groups. We will continue to do so that, to your point, we're not pulling out the rug from underneath. So we are having those conversations with different groups.
And I do think the desire of the district and what I would think would be the desire of the board, it's all about consistency and seeing that things are consistently applied as warranted based on the fee schedule and the parameters that people have to submit paperwork.
And just not throwing an unknown budget, right?
Correct.
Just because haven't been consistent before is all I wanted to make
Yeah,
sure that we're not
and
causing a problem for someone else's budget. So.
Exactly. And I do know that Dr. Vang has been working on these conversations with community members to help clarify, streamline, all those lovely words to kind of get everybody on the same page moving forward. So
thank you.
Thanks for that work. Trustees, anything else? Okay, great. Is there a motion to approve the revised facility use fees to include the RLS track and field and the St. Helena High School track as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there, Sunny, would you like to cast a vote? Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Madrigal will conduct a roll call vote.
Trustee Calder? Trustee Wolf?
Aye.
Trustee Kerr?
Aye.
Trustee Mora?
Aye.
Trustee Simon?
Aye.
President Pelosi?
Aye. Motion carried. I almost said aye to Trustee Simon. I don't. Yeah, she got me all got all tongue tied there. Okay. 13B. Review and approve Resolution 24-13 declaring the district's intention to convey an easement for a public utility purpose. Dr. Vang, please.
Thank you. We have our 2 new electric buses, if you haven't seen them around town. We have the 2 EV chargers that are temporarily installed right now, and we are working on a permanent installation of our EV chargers. With that comes the work and the partnership with PG&E, because we are also looking to get some PG&E rebates. However, that means that in working with PG&E, they will need to be on our property, the utility lines underground. You know, PG&E needs access to those underground utilities. They're on the district's property, so this resolution allows them to partner with us, to work with us to complete this project. And just so in full transparency, I've worked with our legal counsel. We're good to go. I've had her vet the easement deed that I will need to have notarized tomorrow. So just bring forth this resolution today before I can proceed with the next piece.
Thank you. Is there anyone participating via Zoom or present who wishes to publicly comment on this agenda item? Trustees, any questions about this agenda item?
I'm looking at the map that I really can't. Where is this location? Is this by the maintenance building? I just see a rectangle somewhere in Grayson and Crane.
It is the maintenance/bus depot.
Okay.
Yes.
I just want to make sure. Thank you.
This isn't really necessarily about the PG&E, but this is fun that our buses are here. Have we sent out a press release or sent a picture, had the paper do something about our new buses and get a little, I'm always thinking of marketing tools here. Just
It's
seems
probably
like an
great
opportunity we
for the
should
web
put in our
maybe
brain.
the web page, the home page of the website. That would be great. Dr. Vang, I'm assuming that and in all the language in there, which I'm sure that I've read, when PG&E does all this work, if PG&E misses the mark by something and causes, PG&E covers all those costs to get us back up and running to anything that they may have unintentionally caused.
That is my understanding.
Okay, great. That's what I was kind of just looking for in that agreement. It seems to be there, but there's a little bit of, it's kind of couched in some language that I just wanted to make sure. But if legal has looked at that, I can't imagine legal putting us in a position for having to cover expenses related to something that may unintentionally been done during checking for power lines and whatnot. Okay, that was my concern. Anybody else?
I do have a quick question. So with the work that they're doing, is there going to be set dates that they're going to be doing this work? And is it a length of time, or what does that look like?
Yes. So right now, the switchboard that we've ordered, it is en route, and we are supposed to. It's supposed to come in October. So right now we're in a holding pattern, number one, because we have to start with this piece first. But also we have the switch gear that we've already ordered months ago. And I've been told that we are supposed to receive the switch gear next month. And so in the meantime, we've had engineers, we've had our team out there surveying, making sure that all the equipment that we need, that the work behind the scene is done, so that as soon as the switchgear arrives, we are ready to work on the physical installation of the EV chargers and the actual infrastructure itself.
So So I see that the buses are being charged now. So is that at a temporary place? Is that
It
how-
is.
how's that all
We
working? Yeah.
the 2 EV chargers actually came in, I want to say a month or two ago. So we've been storing them at the maintenance department, and now that we have both buses, we're able to charge them. We actually had the company come out and temporarily install them right by the maintenance building so that the buses can get charged every day, so we can start using them. CHP already came out, inspected the buses, so that's how we were able to take the buses on the road. But those EV chargers are temporarily installed. They need a permanent installation, which is our next step.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I guess if it comes in October and it goes down there, I guess I'm assuming all of our homecoming festivities are still in October, and they tend to take part at that part of our property. So, I mean, I know that you probably know that. I'm not trying to micromanage a calendar. I felt the need to just voice it that doesn't get, that's coordinated effectively. So
I'll be working closely with our high school principal.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Anything else, trustees? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the adoption of Resolution 2413 as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Sunny, would you like to cast a vote? Okay. Is there a second? Excuse me.
I'll second.
Miss Madrigal will conduct a roll call vote.
Trustee Calder? Trustee Wolf?
Aye.
Trustee Kerr?
Aye.
Trustee Mora?
Aye.
Trustee Simon?
Aye.
President Pelosi?
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, on to business operations. We have item 14A is contracts over $25,000 for September. Dr. Vang, please.
All right, we have 2 contracts over 25, one with School and College Legal Services of California for legal services, and then the Education Support Services Group for superintendent search.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone present or participating via Zoom who wishes to publicly comment on this agenda item? Okay. Trustees, any questions about these agenda items? No? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the contracts over $25,000 as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. And Ms. Madrigal will conduct a roll call vote.
Trustee Wolf?
Aye.
Trustee Kerr?
Aye.
Trustee Mora?
Aye.
Trustee Simon?
Aye.
President Pelosi?
Aye. Motion carries. 14B is review and consider approval of the 2023-24, unaudited actuals report. Thank you, Dr. Vang.
All right, so unaudited actuals report. I'm going to share the 2023-24 report with you. This is the district's final budget report for this past school year. As you can see on the chart here, we've gone through a whole year, a whole cycle, a budget cycle, starting with our budget adoption, moving to first, second interim. Those are all budgets, and now we're at unaudited actuals. With unaudited actuals, these are actual revenues and expenditures for the 23-24 school year. With actuals, there are no budget assumptions, no multi-year projection, and no cash flow included in here. It is what it is at this point.
Okay.
These are the actual numbers. Moving on to the next slide, the district receives 2 types of funds. The first type is the unrestricted funds. These are least restricted funds. They include state aid, property taxes, state lottery, and these are our most flexible funds. We also have restricted funds. Restricted funds are funds from both state and local. For example, our one-time dollars, our ESSER funds, our title funds, these are all restricted funds. Together, both the unrestricted and restricted funds make up the total general fund, which is Fund 01. Moving on to the next slide, our spending strategy is we've kept it very consistent. This is a strategy across, most school, if not all school districts, but you always want to spend your most restricted funds first before you spend your unrestricted funds. And the reason for that is because your restricted funds usually have a time frame where if it's a use it or lose it, there are, stricter guidelines around those. So you always want to start with your most restricted funds first, spend those up, and then move move on to your unrestricted funds. So today, I want to focus on the total general fund, Fund 01, and I want to look at both unrestricted and restricted resources combined. So on the next slide, that's what we're going to be looking at. So on this slide, you see numbers here for our beginning balance. And again, this is both unrestricted and restricted funds that live in general fund, which is Fund 01. It also includes our revenues, total expenditures for last school year, and then you see the excess revenue of 3.7 million, and we also had transfers in, transfers out, which netted to a negative 228,000, leaving us with an overall increase of 3.4 million and a total ending fund balance of 19.2 million. So on the next slide, I'm going to take you a little deeper into that number, 19.5, so that we can dig a little deeper in 19.2, so we can dig a little deeper into this number. So again, that number includes non-spendable funds, which we have, which includes revolving cash and prepaid items. We have restricted funds that are also included in that number, and it's a 2.5 million. And then on the bottom, I've broken down those restricted resources and the balance amounts so that you can see. Most of these restricted balances are one-time funds that we will need to spend by the end of this year, if not the following school year, because again, these are restricted resources with the time frame. Then there's, we have assigned funds with a total of 5.2 million there, and then that leaves us with the reserve of 11.3 million. So looking at the 11.3 million, I want to take us to the next slide and break that down for the board. So that 11.3 million lives in general fund, which is Fund 01, and on top of that we have our Fund 17, which is our special reserve, and that amount is about 3.6 million, which gives us a total available reserves of 15 million. Keep in mind that the board does have two reserve policies, one being 10% of general fund expenditures, and based on my calculation, that equates to about 4.4 million. The board also has a second reserve policy in place, which is 33% of excess property taxes, so that is about 8.4 million. And so when you look at both reserves, our total available reserves helps us meet these two reserve policies, but I do want to caution everyone that fund balance, there is a huge difference, as you all know, between fund balance and cash flow. So on the next slide, I do want to look at cash flow. Our fund balance is a fund balance, but cash is cash. Cash is king. Cash is, what we have in the bank. And cash is what we need to pay our day-to-day, our utility bills, our salaries. So I want to share that we can have a healthy fund balance, but we can be cash poor, and we want to avoid being cash poor, because being cash poor means we're going to be unable to meet our needs. So as a basic aid district, we get our property taxes basically in December and April. That's when our two big pots come in. So when you look in November, which is the month right before December, which is when we get our first pot of property taxes, I've given you some historical data here so that you can see in terms of cash, real money that is in the bank, okay, cash that's in the bank, you can see our cash flow. So we want to be mindful of this and ensure that, I need to ensure that I am monitoring the district's cash flow, that we don't become cash poor. So in 22-23, you can see that we had pretty low cash of 1.8, and then this past school year, we were able to hold stronger with 4.4. So I just want everyone to be mindful, cash flow and fund balance, two different concepts. And so I just need to make sure that I monitor our cash closely. Next slide. That pretty much wraps up our unaudited actuals for the 23-24 school year. I am recommending that the board approve the 23-24 unaudited actuals report, so that I can then forward this to the county office, who then forwards it to the California Department of Ed, and then onward to our district auditor, so that we can move forward with the our audited actuals, which will come back to you in December. Okay. Thank you.
Is there anyone present or participating via Zoom who wishes to publicly comment on this agenda? Oops, pardon me. Is there anyone present or participating via Zoom who would wish to publicly comment on this agenda item? Okay, trustees, questions about this agenda item?
I have a question, Kay. Looking at the slide, unrestricted, restricted general fund, and then we're looking at the non-spendable, restricted, assigned, and reserve funds.
Slide 6.
Sorry, slide 6. What is an assigned fund?
So the assigned fund, if you recall, we have a $5 million set aside per our budget assumptions, and I have a list. You also have that document. You've probably seen that in budget adoption, first interim, second interim. And then we also, which is board approved, and then there's also about $293,959 that's sitting in unrestricted lottery, and those funds, even though they're unrestricted, they can only be used for instructional curriculum, material supply, so we can't start using that for example, capital outlay or other expenses. So that is assigned, because we've got the $5 million that's board approved, and then unrestricted lottery that lives there as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have a quick question, and that was a lot to deliver. Okay, that was amazing. Take a breath. My question is on slide 5. Can you refresh my memory, the 228 in red, what the transfers contribution, where that number comes from?
Yes, so we had a transfer in, if you recall, the board had approved, I want to say, it was towards the end of the school year last year, where the board had approved a transfer in of $75,000 from Fund 40 to Fund 01 for the high school. Those were the ag funds. It was a donation that was sitting in Fund 40, and we needed that for some expenses for the year. So the board had approved that transfer of $75K from Fund 40 into Fund 01. So that came in. However, we also had to transfer out from Fund 01 we had $300,000 from general fund out to Fund 14, which is deferred maintenance, and that was also a board-approved transfer that I do every year to ensure that our deferred maintenance fund is healthy, so we can address deferred maintenance, not big projects, but smaller projects. And then we also had a small portion, about $3,202, that was transferred out from our one-time kitchen infrastructure funds into Fund 13 to cover trainings for food service employees.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Dr. Vang, can we talk a little bit about the reserves page, number 7?
Yes.
So, just for clarity's sake, for looking at this, the one that when we have the 4.4 million and the 8.4, those amounts are already, those are within the amounts that are listed above, right? They're built in. Just want to be clear for our viewing audience and anybody who's just ravishing this information online. So, I just wanted to, that those are not additional monies on top of the $15 million.
No.
Okay, great.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, okay. In the the business operations committee, that's an opportunity to talk about reserves as well, right?
Correct.
And dig a little bit deeper. Because Trustee Kerr, I don't know if your memory would be stronger than mine, but it was about 10 years ago that 33% of excess property taxes the budget committee came up with this. Do you recall the history around that?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And I'm not gonna, we won't necessarily dig there, but it might be time to have a more in-depth conversation at the business operations. Start there about reserves, because, and you've used this word already tonight, we have to be very mindful of where we're spending going forward. Like as of today, we have to be very mindful. We have some very big expenses coming our way, not just deferred maintenance. We have big projects coming our way. So it's going to be really critical of us as a board to work with the district and Dr. Vang to be very mindful of these expenses and to see where we can get creative and where, where we can find some money to do what we need to do for the benefit of our students, of course. But and maybe reserves is not the place to start, but I don't think it can hurt. It could stay where it is. That's not what, but I would encourage that conversation to happen at the business operations.
Thank you for saying something about this, because when I looked at this, our current reserves, I'm thinking, wow, it seems like a lot, but it's really not, especially when we know we have over $80 million worth of facilities to be looking at right now. So thank you for mentioning that, because I was going to say something as well.
Right.
Right, so the RLS track was $5 million.
Well, and so, yeah, and that was my question then. So, to Trustee Wolf's asking about, the 282-202, I know that we did some transfers from the reserve to Fund 40, which is the facilities. So that wouldn't be shown on this, right?
No, and if you recall, that was actually before I got here. So that was back in 22, 23. So that would not be on the 23, 24 books.
Okay. Okay. So we did that. We did that prior to. Okay. Okay. And is there other expenses that we need to pay on?
Yes.
That's
yes. So next month I'll be bringing forth 3 projects, and I will be asking for a transfer from general fund into Fund 40 to cover these 3 projects. And thank you for bringing that up. Reserves is important. As we've attended the SF Square trainings, we've learned from that 3% is approximately about 2 weeks worth of salaries, and then 17% is about 2 months. This number that you see there, that reserve, that is our bottom line. So if there are emergency situations, unforeseen needs, that's where this is where we would be pulling funds from. So thank you for bringing that up.
What are you pointing to when you say this is where we're going to be pulling from?
So next month when I come back and ask the board for funds for these 3 projects, it's going to come. It can come from these bottom lines.
Were you pointing somewhere? Which
the
line?
15, that bottom line right there, the 15 million.
So
that's our bottom
when we've
line.
had leaks, at RLS Vintage, is it pulling from this slide somewhere?
It is actually pulling from the slide before. So you see that sign right there. So that sign, that 5.2, there is 5 million that's set aside for deferred maintenance. So, but when I've budgeted for some, our day-to-day in resource 8150 defer our routine maintenance. Okay, routine maintenance. There's a budget for that every year. I've set aside a budget for that. However, if there are projects or emergencies that surpass what we budgeted, it comes from the bottom line. The next slide, that 15 million, it would come from that bottom line, if that makes sense.
And anything that was in our 83 million deferred maintenance, big projects, doesn't show up here. None of those dollars would be on the previous slide coming out of the 5.2, you're saying assigned?
It,
'Cause we
would-
haven't
it
planned
could come from the 5 million.
It could, but we haven't
could,
planned it, so
right.
it's not considered
Exactly,
assigned.
Exactly.
Okay. I feel like I need school budget for dummies. So,
You're
thank
doing
you.
great. Thank you.
Trustees, anything? Go ahead.
So, and I'm sorry that it's slipping my mind what it's actually called, the property tax money that we bring, not property tax, the building tax that comes in, development fee, there we go, thank you. Is that somewhere on?
No, because that is Fund 25, developer fees, that's completely separate. This is Fund 01, which is general fund. And keep in mind that Fund 25, we can't just spend Fund 25 on.
It has to be specific. It's restricted.
Exactly,
Okay.
so.
Okay, thank you.
Trustees, anything else? Okay. I'll take that as everybody's feeling okay with that conversation.
I'm ready for the business operations meeting.
Yes, okay, that sounds good. Okay, now we are on, is there a motion to approve the 2023-2024 unaudited actuals as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Madrigal will conduct a roll call vote.
Trustee Wolf?
Aye.
Trustee Kerr?
Aye.
Trustee Mora?
Aye.
Trustee Simon?
Aye.
President Pelosi?
Aye, motion carried. Okay, we have future agenda items here, but Ms. Madrigal, do we come back and discuss this? Because we have to go back into closed session.
You can discuss this item and
Okay,
then go back to the
thank
school
you.
session.
Okay, so we'll see, this is for October 12th. It actually, I think it says September 12th there but it's October 10th. Thank you. October 10th meeting. You'll see what we've got there. Trustees, any other subjects for future agenda items?
No, and this is just as kind of a side note, and this is what Trustee Wolf and I were kind of talking about, just being transparent, is don't forget our mandated trainings that are due, I think, on Monday. Are the mandated trainings that come from.
Yes, thank you for that reminder. I have them pulled up to remind me with the bells and whistles and everything else. Oh.
I just, it flashed in my mind. I leaned over to Jeannie. I go, oh God, did I miss it? I know that's coming up, so.
And I only knew because I looked at my calendar today.
Okay. Anybody, Laura, it looked like you were going to maybe say something. Okay.
I do. I'm interested in diving a little deeper into policy 4119.24, maintaining appropriate adult-student interactions, since this hasn't been reviewed since 2019. I'm just want to make sure we're currently in alignment with state laws.
Okay.
When's our next policy meeting?
In October.
Okay, so
Yeah.
can we include this?
Let's see if we, I know there's always.
Yes, typically the process is that the staff will then bring that to a board policy committee meeting first for a review, and then we can bring it to the board.
Okay. Do we have at least two other people in favor of having that policy added for review?
At a board policy meeting?
At a board, well, yeah, it needs to go to a board policy meeting before it comes back to us. Yeah, I just want to make
That's
sure
fine.
we have to follow. Okay.
It was 2019 the last time?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Just want to make sure we have consensus on that it goes forward. So that will be in October. And I do believe Trustee Simon and myself, we both sit on that committee, so we will be able to participate in and share out.
So it may be, though, that it might come into the November meeting if it's being reviewed in October. Is that correct? Yeah.
And we may just have a simple update at that point, and then he need more modifications or research, whatever the case may be. But we'll put it on for the board policy committee. The subcommittee. Thank you to take a look at.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Anything else, trustees? Okay, well, with that, we're going to go into closed session. We expect all of you to wait here until we get back out, and we'll see you. But no, thank you for joining us. Trustee Calder, thank you very much for joining us. We're very happy to have you at the dais with us. Okay, and we will see you next month, if not sooner. Okay? All right, and don't hesitate to reach out to anybody with any questions. Okay, we'll be back out as soon as we conclude closed section. Thank you.